Welcome to another episode in the Quantum Human Summit series. I am so pleased to introduce you to a beautiful priestess and ceremonialist who works with the Earth's energy and the grids, and she's a dragon and Earth grid steward. And she has been working, carrying the codes of the Sophia consciousness. Let's meet Julia Weigert. Hi, Julia. Welcome.
Hello, hi everyone. Thank you for having me.
This is fascinating because we're talking about sacred site medicine, remembering our multidimensional nature. And as we remember our multidimensional nature, the title of this is Quantum Human, Expanding Multidimensional Awareness. We're going to get into this beautiful topic today, but first we want to learn more about you, Julia. How did you discover that you were a code carrier of the Sophia consciousness?
Hmm, that's a big question to start with.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, I think probably as for a lot of people, um, y- as we are on the journey of discovering who we are, like things just fall into our lap sometimes or cross our path. And for a long time, I guess I have been unconsciously carrying these codes or like unconsciously coming across things that, just fascinated me or raised my interest, such as, for example, ancient Egypt. So as I from like early childhood on, anything and everything about Egypt, I was all over the place about it. But of course, I did not know at that time like why that was. And it was actually only till a couple of years ago that I first took a pilgrimage to Egypt. And as I started to, I'm a Sagittarius sun, so I'm kind of like a natural, like truth seeker and like traveler. So it's always been very expanding for me to know about different cultures and to learn about different cultures while immersing myself in the experience. And it's been a couple of years now that I also like started to do this on a much more conscious level, I would say, and also the land having me activated while walking, and having expanded me without asking sometimes. And yeah, that's how I guess we unravel the gifts that we have and the codes that we carry. And so one is definitely about this reciprocity, and the ceremony of knowing that we are the earth and that we are all part of this web of life. And within that also, like with me being a female being in this life, and I also know that I guess probably most of my past lives were in a female body, it's bringing forth the divine feminine.
Yes, thank you for your journey. Thank you for your curiosity. Thank you for, wow, traveling the earth. That is what makes you an earth grid steward. And you're traveling to these sacred sites is what awakened the codes within you. I love how you said that you were unconsciously carrying the codes, but your curiosity led you to un, unravel, reveal more about your multidimensional nature. And so isn't it fascinating that this is something that we all can pay attention to if we feel driven to go to places and also to an aversion on places. Those are
Mm,
all clues, aren't they?
so much. Yeah, yeah, totally. And as you say, I mean, um, even if we do not have like this expanded consciousness yet and we travel to places, I always say like we get our fair share. And sometimes it's also the universe paying attention of what can awaken in us already, because it's really sometimes when we go to these like places like Egypt or even Greece, where there is such a physicality to the experience that can be so vast and so like mind blowing and heart opening, that it's just sometimes too much for our human nature. And so it's like, and sometimes we need to get it in these homeopathic like doses so that we can hold it, because it's not just about like going there and having these woo experiences, but it's the hardest part, and that is also the beauty of it, is like coming back home and knowing, how do I integrate this into my everyday life?
Yes. All right. So beautiful. And so, sacred sites, the topic of our discussion today is sacred site medicine. That's amazing. For those who have traveled to sacred sites in person or even just in meditation or with consciousness, can feel magic that happens. I've got my stories of going to Peru and the great activations that I've had
Mm,
there. So they are miraculous and actually life-changing is really the proper word.
yeah.
Life activating. So tell us about sacred medicine and what we're going to learn today from your presentation.
So the way that I've come to see it is, it's really a reciprocity. So it's not just, me going there or like people going to sacred sites and like wanting to have an experience. And sometimes it's even the opposite, because it's it's beneficial to really be free of any kind of expectation of what will happen or what's gonna happen at exactly this moment when you are there, because usually it's far from how and what you imagine it to be. and and so and also especially this year, I feel I work a lot with the dragons, and I feel that the dragons, now that we are in the year of the wood dragon, like they are more and more making themselves known, and they are, to me, they are the ultimate keepers of the elementals and the earth grid. And so it's really that they are coming into our awareness, and that's another hint also for people who, yeah, might like see or feel the synchronicities, to just like pay attention and listen. And that it's the earth that is calling us as the stewards forward to take action on what is happening on the planet. And so to really go to the places, and as you said, whether this is physical, which adds like another layer, but you can as well do that in meditation and just like travel etherically, but really working with these powerful nodes and lines that are everywhere all around the globe, and activate the portals that ultimate bring like healing and balance to the planet, and with that also to ourselves.
That's fascinating. Let's go more into that. Can you go into where some of these powerful nodes and lines are, and also how we activate portals? Those are two questions.
Yeah, yeah. So first, I also want to say, I mean, there is kind of like a specific definition of what a sacred site is, but it doesn't always have to be these huge, like known places like Stonehenge or Machu Picchu, or yeah, it's for me, it really starts to just by where you are, like on the land that you are most probably a steward of that land that you are living on. And that's why also the land called you to be there in this lifetime. And so it's not like we don't have to travel far. It's just going out and connect with the place, with the earth, where the rocks, the waters, the sacred springs, the trees, the forest of where you are, and just learning how to communicate with these elementals and yeah, see what it is, how you can support them and how can they support you. And so, um, okay, I'm trying to circle back to your question. Um, so the powerful nodes, I mean, there is, I guess, different ways of how you can access it because the majority of the lines that are known nowadays, they were discovered via dowsing. Is it dowsing? Dowsing? Is that the word dowsing?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
interesting.
So there is a way to actually make it known, but for me, it's also very much about like again, just walking or just like feeling where you feel the resonance and where you feel that there is a strong energetic current. So there's a lot of we would call ley lines in Switzerland, and they haven't been proven or discovered, but it's just like when I go to these places and so there's one place, for example, where there is a stone circle as well. we there's a lot of them all over the place, and it's like right on top of the mountain. And when I stand there and I look across the valley to another mountain where there is a beautiful chapel on top, I can just like feel the energetic current that is running. And so for me, this is almost much more important that we come back to this feeling and really discovering the places around us versus what is known. Because yes, we know that places like Stonehenge, there is like, I think it's 5 or 7 like very important like places crossing. And so this is another hint where we can go and see where on the planet are these, yeah, these like ancient ceremonial sites that might be megalithic structures, that might be cathedrals or churches, because the church and like religion has, it's not that they knew where to build churches. It's most of the time there was a previous like pagan or earth-based um, worship in place where when religion came and they wiped it out and they placed a church on top, but that was because before there had been a ceremonial site to the people where they knew that there was a powerful energy coming out from the earth, or it was serving like as some sort of transmitter from the earth to the celestial realms.
Yes, okay, that's fascinating. So you said something very interesting that we all want a part of. We would love to feel nature portals. We would love to feel the energetics. Do you have advice for us on how we can recognize it? And I'm certain that those watching and listening can look back in their life at instances where, wow, we followed the feeling and ended up in a beautiful location, for example,
Mm,
or um, things with the land that begin to talk to us. How do we hone those skills? How do we cultivate that?
mm,
How do we become
yeah.
aware of the energy? Like when you were standing on that mountain and looking out over the valley, you could feel it. How do we do that?
I guess my first answer to that is becoming really quiet because there is so much noise in the outside world these days that we are not asked to, and we are not invited to listen to these very, very subtle nudges because nature, most of the time, I was gonna say is not loud, and then I see you sitting in the jungle, and like I think of Costa Rica, it probably can get really loud, but like in a different way, right? It's like the sounds of nature, the sounds of the animals that are talking and alive, but it's different than yeah, mostly the noise that we are exposed to nowadays. And so, let me see. I guess ultimately it's coming back to how also clairs show up in our life, and that can be very different. So for me, for example, I feel a lot, but I also get visions. So when there is a portal, it might also not necessarily be that everybody can right away tap into it, because the way that I experienced it very much, it also in that very moment opens up for exactly the person or the group of people who is there. And then as fast as it appears, it almost also like closes again and disappears. And so it's yeah, really trusting your intuition and trusting all of these subtle hints that you're getting, whether this is a different feeling in your body or something starts. So for me, for example, a lot of times like my feet or my hands or my crown starts to tingle, and then I know like, oh, something is about to happen, and then I pay attention.
That's the key, paying attention and getting ready. Okay. All right. So you're all about ceremony as well. And I can share that when going to sacred sites, in my experience, we did ceremony in Machu Picchu and all around Peru where we went. And we found that when we got outside of the expectation, like you were mentioning, when we got set outside of time or a schedule, that is where the magic happened. And the ceremony that we did, the prayers to Pachamama, the love that we gave, actually, could that have created a portal? Because what we noticed is after the ceremony, there would always be three birds, condors.
Mm,
Birds would come. And so the ceremony is actually very important here. And I'll let you talk about that because one of my questions is, you were saying here in Costa Rica, there's a lot of noise, but really in my reality, near my property, there's a rock quarry. That's a lot of
mm,
noise.
mm.
And so I know, and so if we're called to the land to be here, and yes, we're called to the land, and I know there's a higher reason, how can we work to course correct, heal the land if we see some environmental disturbance with the land? Because I can feel that we're here for a purpose. So would ceremony be important on this aspect to help heal, or can we open a portal in our land from ceremony? What's the advice on this?
Yes, 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 yes to all of that. And thank you for bringing it up. Um, Ceremony is such an important and also a beautiful way to connect, because I feel whenever we are in ceremony or in ritual, that's when we like plug in to this higher net and become a part of the all that is. I mean, not that we are not, like we are that all the time, but in consciously engaging in ceremony and like inviting the nature spirits and inviting the higher selves and the elementals and the guardians of the place and the dragons and yeah, like whomever you want to invite as like benevolent being who can help course correct, as you said. That is when we become a part in the orchestration of life that is just happening. It's like spirit is running through us. And so I feel a lot of times also when you go to a place, and this again, like it doesn't have to be a huge sacred site. It can just be the tree in your backyard. The first thing also to start with is ask permission and also introducing yourself. Because like you don't, I don't walk into your house with like not introducing myself and stating my intention, right? So it's very simple, but that is what a lot of people forget because like there is this big mission that we're on, but it's like, no, it can be very simple. So this is who I am. Let's just let's just connect first.
Wow, that's really key. That's really key. I just want to interject here because we hear so many stories of, for example, people go to Hawaii, which is a really giant nature experiences with the elementals. And that is one of the big rules is to ask permission. And
Mm.
people notice when they forget to ask permission, they'll stub a toe, hit their head on a tree branch. This is to be paying
Yeah,
attention to, right?
it happens.
Wow. Okay. So that's
Absolutely.
key. Okay. Okay. Continue, please. Please ask permission and
Absolutely. Yeah, and I actually also do have a fun story to that. It's not that I did not ask permission, but yeah. So I was on the lands of Avalon, and there's also different hills, and I had the intention to connect to the goddess Bridget, and there's like one mound that is dedicated to her. And I after I had facilitated a sister gathering, I just went off on my own. And I knew what the place was. And there was a mound and there was there is a spring that is dedicated to her. And I went to the place. I stood in the place. I even looked it up like 3 times on the map and it wasn't there. I did not find it, or so to say, she did not reveal herself to me. And and it was kind of like grown fields, but like I knew it was there, but it wasn't. And so again, like sometimes these portals don't open up when we're not ready for them, and then like you just have to surrender. And it was, of course, like later than when I went to another place in Scotland that it was dedicated to her, where like I got to fully meet her. And then she was laughing and saying, like, do you see now, like, why this was not your place to meet me? Like, we needed to meet here. And many times also our mind kind of like plays tricks on us, or like we have this idea in our head why something exactly needs to happen in that sequence, where it is, if we look at it from a broader perspective, not what needs to happen. But at that moment in time, we might not understand. So we might only get the clue later. And but to fully answer your question, so I feel a very important aspect also to engage with sacred sites and to engage with the elementals is creating that reciprocity. And so I love to leave offerings, whatever offerings, of course, are biodegradable. And again, like coming back to very it begins in very small actions, but it also like can go to the vast expanded experience. But the small actions, again, it can just be that. So I always have a bag with me where I pick up trash, like wherever I go, because there is trash everywhere. And so it's very small, but again, like people jump over that very quickly because they feel that it doesn't make a difference, but actually it does. Um, and one of the things where I feel it makes a huge difference is engaging in ceremonies with water, because water and crystals, because water and crystals are from the elemental realms where there is like we can encode information in the water. Water is a carrier of information, and same with the crystals. And so I do a lot of crystal gridding wherever I go to places, setting certain intentions for healing, but also again like working with the water. And singing to the water, speaking prayers into the water, giving offerings to the water. And so whether this is, yeah, in Egypt and we were sailing down the Nile with a group, or whether this is, I have this very, to me, very sacred valley in Switzerland, where it's the source of one of the largest rivers that flows all the way through Europe. And so that's where I go every year on the summer solstice with the sun codes coming from above and then just purifying the water because I know that it's going to run through these, yeah, pristine rocks and then makes its way all the way through Europe and like spreading these codes of love and healing.
Thank you for that. We feel into that, and it feels so wonderful. And it reminds us of our power to be the stewards of the earth,
Mm.
no matter what's happening, no matter what's happening. And so I'm going to go back to my example here because it's very helpful. So this rock quarry is on the river. And so I feel that the elementals are upset. Could they be upset? And so perhaps one ceremony would be to go way upriver. Ooh, I'm getting this. Way upriver, it's a giant tree, and do the ceremony with the tree and maybe sing to the water or bless the
Mm.
water and maybe put some crystals in the water because this will go right down into the rock quarry.
Yes, yes,
Instead
absolutely.
of getting upset and fighting, it's better to meet it with ceremony. Um, it's almost like meet the energy with the energy, right? Meet the destructive energy with the higher energy. Is that what the ceremony would?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I love that.
Well, you're inspiring me anew because instead the other option would be very 3D to complain, to get upset, but the ceremony and the ritual with the crystals. So we can do this anywhere. We can do this in our backyard, right? Can we create an energy vortex or can we create that? Can we create these portals?
We can create portals, absolutely, yeah. So again, I would use crystals for that. So just to lay out, and that can be a basic grid. So for me, for example, the energetic geometric structure of a pyramid has proven to be very, very powerful. And so we can, in our backyard, we can just like lay out the square of, or even around our house, like place the four cornerstones of the pyramid, and then imagining how there is the apex forming, and then whether we like have an actual stone that we also want to place in the middle, um, or we just imagine it, and then there is um, a spiral that runs. So we activate the portal with the spiral energy, and then within within that square, within that pyramid, there would be a spiral that we imagine, and we can just sit in that every day and imagine how that spiral is running, and it connects all the way down to the crystalline core of Mother Earth, and it connects all the way down into the celestial womb of the heavens. And so by cultivating and also like visualizing and really feeling how that vortex is created, that's how we amplify it.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. This is what light workers are here to do as stewards of the earth. And so we can literally, we know so many people who watch programs like this that do go out on our planet and do ceremony and do grid work on the planet. And that's what this means, really connecting in and anchoring our love for the earth and for Gaia. So then the elementals, how do they respond to this? I think that we can see where we've lost this when we see floods and firestorms and things like this, hurricanes that are really aggressive, would that indicate that the elementals were out of balance with the elementals? So if we become more in ceremony and respectful of the elementals, in tune with the elementals, then we're going to see a lot less of this. Yes.
That's a big question. And I do not want to claim that I have the answer to that because I also strongly believe that nature has its own wisdom and like gives and takes as it's needed. And again, like sometimes it's our human mind that goes in and like agreeable. Yes, there is catastrophes that are caused by floods or by fires, but I also strongly believe that it's part of that elemental and universal wisdom that somehow balances. But for sure, I guess the way that we have cultivated is not the right word, but almost like exploited the earth with the forests and the waters and everything. We need to come back to a much more balanced way of living this life on the planet.
Yes, hallelujah. I think we are in agreement with that. And we're all saying, yes, we've got that. I pledge to allow that. All right. So let's talk about these areas of the planet, song lines, portals, energy vortices, and sacred sites. Can you share how we are going to discover how they serve us in our personal, collective, and planetary shift in consciousness?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can share from my own experience, and um, again, the path can be very different for each unique journey, I guess. So let's see. Don't want to talk too fast. So yeah, so the way that I have come to experience it is that usually it starts with a personal feeling or a personal intention as to why we want to go to these places, right? And that may or may not be conscious. Sometimes we even go to um, conscious travel experience where we think this is because we are going, and then it turns out that there is a totally like different lesson that we get to learn. And so for me, it always starts a lot earlier because what I feel that these travel experiences and I want to like speak more to the actual physical travel experiences because I think that this has just like this other layer on top. Um, and whenever we travel or we go on a pilgrimage, for example, the whatever we experience on the outward, whatever is coming up, is to a very, very great extent mirrored inside ourselves. And so it's the merging of the two that is happening. And like, what can I see that it's presenting itself on the surface? Like the interactions with people, what are the topics that are coming up? And how do I see like me navigating my own inner landscape and reacting to these triggers or situations as an invitation to inquire whether this is the highest version that I really want to live? Like, is this my truth, or is there another layer of truth? So that's certainly one piece of advice that I would give, because sometimes, or what I see happening also with like some of my students, for example, or even with myself, like when I go and then something is coming up. So let's say I travel with a group, and most of the times it's something that is related to loved ones staying at home because they are our ultimate mirrors. And so, and then we get upset, or I get upset because I'm like, no, I want to have this experience. And like, this is like, I'm here now. And like, we want to push this aside. But actually, what's happening there is exactly part of the lesson and part of the wisdom that the land, the pilgrimage, the sacred site is holding for us. And it's again like coming back to the awareness and the paying attention, what is really going on. And also there can be experiences where we step into like really the multidimensionality of ourselves. So I had an experience with in the Temple of Karnak, for example, with Sekhmet, where it actually felt like I was getting heart surgery, and it wasn't pleasant at all. Like the physical experience, it wasn't nice. And at that moment, I did not understand what was going on. But I felt nauseous. I felt like a pressure on my heart, and to some extent, I was really worried that something was going on. And it was only at a much later point in time that I understood, and I got like received some downloads and channeling and information from her that she had opened a stargate in my heart.
Um,
But at that time, also, like my mind would not have been able to understand that. And sometimes it's also a bit of a protection mechanism. I feel that we can like just be in the experience without over analyzing it. And then the explanation part may come a day later, a month later, a few months later.
so really paying attention and letting go. I loved how you used the word surrender. You surrender and pay attention. And so, wow. All right. So the mirror, the mirror of what is coming up for us on these trips. It's really important because on one hand, we're stripped of our identity because we're not in our usual flow and our usual reality. And so if there's a schism or something coming up, paying attention to that shows you what you need to release, perhaps. Okay. So it's all in hindsight where it can really come together after the journey. So just being open to all of it and paying attention. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and it like it begins with the preparation and it ends um, whenever you feel complete with the integration after. And I feel as much as we go on these trips, it's very important also to really like plan in integration time, because this is what we very often forget. And also life is busy, right? So it's like keep going, keep going, keep going. But a lot of times yeah, it's just like again this coming back to quiet and coming back to reflection of what it really was that we experienced, maybe also going again through pictures or um, whatever we journaled on, so that these keys can fall into place. And I also like to see it as this, like our entire body is kind of this um, this huge lock, and then there's keys that turn in specific like divine moments. But and it's not that we can miss them, but it's nicer to pay attention and to be aware when it happens.
I can sense many people are really feeling the urge to get out on the land, to go out on Gaia and to do ceremony and to make these pilgrimages. It's really quite special. All right. Mm. So when you go to sites, how do you determine where to go and what to do?
Can you still hear me? Oh, okay. I think
Yes. Yeah.
now I'm back. Yeah, great. Um, yeah, that's an awesome question. So again, coming back and it might be, yeah, a repetition, but it's really what it comes down to. It's a reciprocity. So sometimes my mind feels, oh, I want to go there. Like and then I'm being called, I'm being shown to go somewhere else. So a lot of the work that I do is like including just meditating and sitting with the land and listening again. And so, for example, this year I was actually not planning to go back to Avalon. And in the beginning of the year, like the dragons were so loud, so loud. They were like, you have to go back, you have to go back. And it's actually a bit of a stretch for me because I feel that my year is going to be super busy. So, but again, it's like this the surrendering piece. So, okay, if I'm supposed to be going, then just show me. And that is something that you can also to be you can ask. Like ask your guides, your guardians, ask the land to show you and how this is going to be. Um, and I also it's not necessarily related to your question, but it just comes up for me. So I want to give it a voice because I feel that for many of us, it's also ancestral journeys where we can connect with the land of our ancestors. And like it's really powerful to place our like bones and DNA onto the land where the ancestors of us have walked. And I feel that there's gonna be a lot of guidance that is coming from that if you inquire or like need clarity on a path or purpose, like connecting back with the ancestors and the land of the ancestors is very powerful too.
Wow. It just, I know others who are watching and listening are, if they've taken sacred site trips, they're thinking now, looking back at their travels, and it makes so much sense. And some of us may even be saying, okay, I need to do it a little bit better. I need to show up a little bit better for it because we're all stewards in this way. So this is beautiful. Thank you for sharing this wisdom. I'd like to see if you might lead us on a connection or a small ceremony as an example of how we can connect to the land in this way and begin to listen. Can we do that? Take just a few moments or something to get an example of what might be appropriate anywhere we are, etherically or physically.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my pleasure. Okay, then I'm inviting everybody to close your eyes if it is safe to do so. If not, you might want to pause. Closing your eyes and allowing yourself to take a couple of very deep breaths down into your belly. And then where that breath is going, letting your pelvis become very heavy, or when you're standing, your feet become very heavy. Connecting in with the land that you are on right now. Wherever you are just exactly where you are, where you need to be. And if you have a chance, then place your feet flat on the ground. so that you are merging the meridians that run all along the soles of your feet, merging them with the ley lines, the song lines, the living and breathing vessels that run through Mother Gaia. And if you feel called to do so, you can do the same with your hands, placing them on the ground and feeling how your field and how your energy lines merge with the energy lines of Gaia. And as this living map of your body merges with the wisdom codes of the earth, there is an exchange happening of wisdom, of codes, of keys, maybe even bloodline. Just feel into the energy and the field that is created between you, the soles of your feet, your hands, and the earth. And all of these keys and codes that are transmitted from the earth into you are being transported into every little cell of your being. And there is an activation happening, a remembrance. It may be a remembrance of a land that you have walked before, or your ancestors have walked before. It may be a deep soul calling that you are receiving now from a sacred site or from a land, from a piece of land. Just allow that to come up in your heart, maybe in your third eye vision. Maybe it's a song that you hear, a song that is giving you a clue of where to find the next puzzle piece. And allowing these codes to be transported all over your body and all over your system so they can unfold and unravel over the next couple of days or weeks. And slowly start to draw back and feel the energy of the earth retrieve back into the soil, into the roots. And now it is your turn. Your turn to give love, healing, compassion, your great love for Gaia, any kind of offering that you desire. Place it into the piece of land that you're on with great love. giving thanks and gratitude for this beautiful exchange and for this wisdom that was given to you. And you can start to wiggle your fingers, your toes, and allowing the next deep breaths to bring you back into your body and into the physical space where you are before opening your eyes again. So it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. You have made all of us more deeply connected, feeling the earth. You've turned us into stewards. You've assisted us in stepping into those roles. I know so many are already doing it. However, you've just assisted many more of us to do so, to really feel that. So now we see the importance of going into nature. It's almost like we merge with nature. I'm feeling those codes. Wow. We do have to slow down and we have to be present. All right. We've got this. No matter what happens. I really feel confident now. I really feel great. And so, isn't it uncanny how our minds might think of one thing? For example, purchase a piece of land and say, I'm going to do this, but then you realize that no, we have to listen to the land. The land could have something else in store for us. All right.
Yeah.
That meditation really put us into a space of gratitude and love for Gaia. And so we recognize that we're part of her and she's part of us. And I love the reciprocity of
Yeah.
giving her our love and giving her a gift, not just always taking. I think that's really important to remember as well. Yes. Okay. So thank you, Julia. This is exquisite. Your work is exquisite. There are folks watching that would love to work with you, and you have a special offer. It's available on this webpage. And this is a beautiful webinar on Earth chakras, attuning to Gaia's frequency, a little bit like we did today. But this because we're going to go to the 7 chakras of the earth. Tell us about this. We're excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So, I mean, there is so much that we could go into. So we haven't really touched the earth chakras, but yeah, so such as all of our human bodies have these energy centers. Also, the earth has her energy centers where the different frequencies are anchored in, and where it's very important that like all of these points are balancing the overall earth energy. And in this webinar, I'm going to be sharing where are the earth chakras, where are the points on the earth, and also how can we work with them and literally attune ourselves to them. So a little bit like we just did in the small meditation today, going into what can we experience. Of course, we are in the webinar only doing it in the etheric way, but maybe that inspires also people to travel to these places, which is another experience on its own. But yeah, it's about like how can we access and harness the energy that is present in these sites within ourselves, and again, like creating this overlay of our chakras with the earth in order to come into a more harmonious being for ourselves, but ultimately, of course, like for all of us and for humanity.
Yes, that's so beautiful. Do you want to just quickly list the 7 sites, or is that too much at this?
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I can absolutely do it.
And they're all connected. So like Mount Shasta, is that the root? Mount
It's the
Shasta.
root. Yes.
So when we get called, I just have a quick story. It's really interesting when we go to these places, if we are not energetically ready, people have experienced like purging coming up.
Oh
Isn't
yeah.
that
Hmm.
amazing? Like
Hmm.
show up at Mount
Hmm.
Shasta and get physically ill. Even
Yeah.
in Peru, we went through during the 12-12-12 gateway in Peru, and there were 13 of us on this trip. 11 of us fell ill, and
Yeah.
it was more energetics. So that,
Yes. Yes, definitely.
yeah,
D- I, I see that happen a lot, and it happened to me too. So last time, also before I went to Egypt, it was interesting because I wanted, like, I knew that I needed to kind of like up level and prepare on a physical level. But again, it was like this mind heart thing. So what I did in the end was what I thought I needed, but then the purging happened in a very different way. But it's um I don't know. I just want to add it's maybe not because we are not necessarily energetically ready, but I feel that whenever, we up level and like there is these like really, really so different or like high frequencies that we expose ourselves over a longer period of time. And that ultimately, as a consequence, means that everything else that is not of this frequency needs to leave the body in whatever way. And sometimes that can be in unpleasant ways and uncomfortable ways too. Yeah.
okay. All right. So I'm not going to interrupt anymore, but please tell the
Yeah.
seven chakras of
So,
Earth. Yes.
yeah. So, absolutely. Yeah. We have Mount Shasta. That's the root chakra. And to me, actually, I also secretly feel that it's a hidden pyramid. So, let's see. Then there is Lake Titicaca as the sacral. So very much the womb, the sacral energy, the womb waters. Then we have Uluru as the solar plexus in Australia with like this solar plateau capturing the sun codes. And then there is Avalon, Glastonbury in the UK as the heart chakra. Then we have the Giza Plateau with the pyramids that is attuned to the throat chakra. So, and yeah, just also maybe as a side note, it's very likely that whenever we go to exactly these places, that we heal something in these chakras or the related emotions to these chakras in our body too. And then we have the third eye. That is not a fixed. They say it's not fixed. So for now, it's supposedly also in Glastonbury and Avalon. So both very powerful, the heart and the third eye. And then we have the crown chakra, which is another mountain in Tibet.
All right, that is so amazing. So this webinar, you will be talking about each of these places and we'll be attuning to each of these places, receiving the keys and the codes that we can activate in our own body as well. It sounds wonderful. It really does. Thank you for that webinar. Again,
Thank you.
it's a beautiful opportunity to dive more deeply into this and then even be activated to travel to these places. And if you can't physically travel, we can still work with these places by knowing more about it and feeling into the energies of all of them.
Yeah.
All of the energies must feel different, right? They're
Oh,
all
they do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay.
Different colors, like all different frequencies of the rainbow spectrum.
All right. Thank you for that. We are looking forward to it. And
Thank you.
also, you have personal sessions, an angelic healing session. So this sounds lovely. What happens here? Can you tell?
I do, yeah. So I also work a lot with the angelic realms, and that is so in a healing session. there's sometimes I have people who come and they have very specific things that they want to work on. But sometimes it's also a session to gain clarity or just to get in contact with your own guardian angel or your angel team, because we all have an angel team and ascended masters that we that are our guides and guardians that we can connect to. And so, yeah, I do a lot of the sessions can be in person, but of course, I also do most of the sessions remotely. And so it's partially a channeling and partially also an energetic healing that happens. And the sessions are set up in the way that it's completely remote, so also we are not connecting over Zoom because I want the client to really disconnect from screen and everything, and to have the system completely relaxed. And I will tune energetically into the field of the client, and then through channeling and energetic healing, um, do some work, and then afterwards you will receive a recording of the protocol that I performed, and also of any kind of guidance and channeling that came through for that unique person, that unique situation.
Okay, that sounds really interesting. So, for those who may have questions on how they get their information to you, so if people were to take you up on your angelic healing session, do they tell you what's going on in their life? Do they send you an email on that, or how would they let you know that?
Yeah, so send me an email, absolutely. I'll guess all of my contact details will be provided on the page. And as I said, it can be both. So personally, I like to go in completely blank and just like channel whatever information is
That's great.
necessary.
You don't need the
Um,
information ahead of time. You don't need it.
I I don't need the information, but it's sometimes it can be helpful. Let's say if it's really like physical things, it's helpful for me in the process of the energetic healing protocol, so I can pay attention to these specific parts of the body. But I don't need it. So I'll leave it up to the client how much they want to share, what they want to share. Yeah.
Okay. It sounds wonderful. Okay. And so as you're doing this remotely, about how long is it and what does the person do? What does the recipient do? Just
Mhm.
relax, or do they not even, can they be going about their day multitasking? What's the best protocol?
So the best way to receive it is actually there's two ways, is either to be asleep, because sometimes also, I have a lot of clients where there is a time difference, and I actually like to play with the dream state of people, and and also because when we sleep, our nervous system and just our body is completely at rest, and so that's when we can receive best. But of course, there's also the option to experience it in a conscious way. But then I would not advise to like go by your day, but to really set time aside. It's about 45 minutes to 60 minutes um, to just rest. And if people decide for that option, I also provide a guided meditation and some music, so it's easier to get into the space.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. I know you're going to have people signing up for that, working with you in that beautiful angelic healing session. Thank you. And the webinar as well, wonderful. Thank you for offering this for our beautiful audience. We're so appreciative. Yes. Okay.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yes, we are stewards. We are all stewards of the earth now, and we know what to do if we didn't know it earlier, and we know a better way to do it. This is really important for our earth because so many people are finding themselves heavy at heart with what we see going on the earth. But this is where we are no longer victims, but we're co-creators with the earth, with Gaia. And that's what
Yeah.
makes it so beautiful. No matter what's going on, this is where we show up, why we show up, and how we show up. So thank you. Okay. So as we say goodbye, Julia, I just want to give you a moment for any higher wisdom to come through or any final thoughts.
Yeah, I just want to voice that I'm really grateful to give a voice to the earth, because many times when I speak, I really feel that it's not like necessarily me, Julia, speaking, but there's a lot of things that really need to be said in order to, yeah, activate people and to facilitate for people to become stewards. And maybe just as a final piece, what I still find that people do not feel qualified to consider themselves as an earth steward because they don't have a certificate or ba 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 ba. Like, you don't need a certificate. You are part by just being a human and like being on the earth. You are qualified. And so, yeah, just engage, go out in nature, go out to that piece of land that's been calling you, and work with it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We are getting busy on the land, getting busy and attuned to nature. Thank you, Julia Weigert, and thank you everyone for watching. We encourage you to go out, connect. That's our work. And for some of you, it's the mission you've been asking about. Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Namaste.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
This has been a presentation of New Earth One Network, your home for New Earth living. Access information, education, and videos on living from the heart in unity consciousness. Visit newearth1.com.